So this afternoon, the Florida House passed a bill that would dismantle Disney's special district status in that state. What that means is it would essentially eliminate the company's ability to self-govern its Orlando area theme park. Governor DeSantis is expected to sign the measure into law. After all, he is front and center in the GOP's ongoing culture wars there over issues like race, gender, and COVID. This particular fight with Disney is rooted in the company's opposition to Florida's new so-called Don't Say Gay law, which prohibits classroom instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation from kindergarten to third grade. Beyond the profound financial effects the law will have on a company so ingrained in Florida's economic DNA, it serves as the latest instance of Republicans punishing companies who don't go along with the conservative agenda. Joining us now, Sam Stein, White House editor for Politico, and Jason Johnson, journalism and politics professor at Morgan State University and host of A Word with Jason Johnson podcast, both MSNBC contributors. I had part of this conversation, Jason, yesterday with Tim Miller, and we admonished ourselves to not cover these as politically successes or failures, and to just for a second at least include a conversation about the substance of these bills. And so I want to try to at least go one day with doing that. What Disney did was voiced opposition to legislation that passed anyway. I mean, Disney didn't impede DeSantis's ability to pass the Don't Say Gay law that he wanted to pass. The idea that now the state of Florida, is eking out revenge against one of the largest employers in the state is unbelievable and shouldn't be glossed over. What is your sense of this as sort of a devolution of sort of another sort of rung down the ladder that the Republican is descending?
Nicole, I ran through so many Disney songs I wanted to sing in preparation for this. I thought of Let It Go. Let's not talk about DeSantis. I thought of many of them.
I want to hear
it. The core conclusion is this. This is what you get. Disney, they will have to let this go and accept it. This is what you get. All of these large corporations, whether it was Delta in Georgia or Disney or Verizon or any of these companies, they always want to play footsie with both sides. They always want to say, hey, we're just giving to Trump and we're giving to Biden. We're just giving to Hillary and we're giving to Trump. And then it bites you in the rear and they all act shocked. They gave so much money to this person who they knew was terrible from the very beginning. They gave money to secretaries of state and state senators and everything else like that. This is the position that Disney put themselves in. Yes, Ron DeSantis is terrible. Yes, this is an anti-economic policy. Yes, it's the kind of thing that voters in Orlando are not happy with. Voters all over the state can't be happy with this. This could potentially cost them money. But at the end of the day, if these corporations don't start acting like proper American citizens in a weird sort of way, if they don't start taking corporate responsibility and recognizing that there's only one party in this country and the other has basically transformed into a religious cult, then these are the consequences they're going to face. And I don't understand. I don't have much sympathy for Disney. I have sympathy for the workers who may suffer the consequences of this. But this should be a lesson to every entertainment and media company across this country that giving to the Republican Party and empowering these ridiculous MAGA-like governors is going to blow up in your face.
And Sam, I think what's notable is that this is not my analysis that they're punishing Disney for being against the Don't Say Gay bill. This is Ron DeSantis's mission statement with the punishment for Disney. He said this, quote, "If Disney wants to pick a fight, they chose the wrong guy. Now is the time to put the power back in the hands of Floridians and out of the pockets of woke executives." This is what they took away from Disney. The right to provide its own services like fire departments and to build the roads on its properties, to not follow local regulations, but to sort of be a city unto itself. It is political retribution for the Republican base's wish list. And I wonder what you think the next step is. I mean, where does DeSantis go next? Because there's always something next.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can make an intellectual case that Disney should never have enjoyed these types of powers, essentially becoming a local fiefdom within a state to begin with. There's an intellectual case to make on that. But that's not what's happening here. It's not that Ron DeSantis is saying, wow, this is really sort of philosophically problematic. He's being vindictive. I mean, he's openly being vindictive. That statement doesn't really hide the ball. Disney spoke out against this law, and he's punishing Disney for speaking out. And it's an incredible paradigm shift. I mean, Nicole, you know this well. Republicans have traditionally welcomed the backing of big business. The idea that the chief executive of Florida would go to war openly with Disney, which is like symbolic of the state of Florida, it seems crazy on the surface. But, you know, slightly to disagree with Jason here, I think the issue here for DeSantis, it's trying to make corporations quiet, trying to make them think about speaking out, especially on cultural issues going forward. And I think that's what corporations are probably going to take from this. You asked what's next. You know, what's next likely is that corporations, before they start weighing into these red hot cultural war issues, before they get into issues around voting rights or abortion policy, like they are being compelled to do by many on the left, they're going to say, wait a second, maybe we should not do that. Are we risking our tax status? Are we risking these benefits that the state has provided us if we do speak out politically? And I think that's what Ron DeSantis is going for. It's essentially to muzzle corporate consciousness going forward.
Well, Jason, I hope that's not the lesson that is taken from what is straight up bullying, because companies have employees, and employees have kids who are gay and straight and trans, and they have parents who are gay. I mean, the whole idea that companies, and I know this is not your prediction, so I asked where DeSantis is going next, but the really fateful moment, and I hope these conversations are taking place inside companies, is that round one went to DeSantis. He won. And I think the question for companies is, you know, do we have a moral compass, and are we going to articulate it, or can we be bullied?
Well, and Nicole, it goes even further. Yeah, I very much push back on the idea that this is from the left. I don't care if this is left or right. This is actual people working in Disney. And let's be clear, Disney only said something because of complaints from their employees. Let's be clear, everything from Disney movies to Marvel and DC, employees and writers and producers and staff members have said, hey, look, as a company, you need to stand up for us because all sorts of different kinds of people live here. That's above and beyond blocking voting rights and CRT and trying to erase American history, which you also have happening in the state of Florida. These corporations have an obligation to their employees. And if you are in a state that is hostile to the lives of the men and women that make your bottom line possible, then as an organization, as a business, and as a staff, you have to say something about it. My fear is that the next step for Ron DeSantis, since he's already trying to destroy history, he's already trying to keep black people from voting, he's already trying to offend and push back on the largest corporation, one of the largest employers in the state, and he's not suffering any political consequences, is the Republican nomination. Because that's what all of this is about. Nicole, it's not like he's a bright guy. It's not like he's overly sophisticated. Ron DeSantis has simply taken the Donald Trump playbook from the White House and said, well, wait a minute. There's no strong Democratic Party here like Trump faced in Congress that can stop his more ridiculous actions. If Ron DeSantis could pass an anti-Muslim bill for the state of Florida, he would. If he could pass an anti-CRT, if he could say it's illegal to say you're black, I'm pretty sure the guy would try it. He's doing everything that Trump did, because if Donald Trump doesn't run for president or for some reason fails, DeSantis knows that he's the number one guy to get the nomination and implement this stuff at a national level.
And Sam, I set you up to predict where DeSantis was going next. I know you weren't suggesting where the state should go next or would go next. I just want your response to sort of the tricky dynamics and the tricky conversations that are likely happening because of what DeSantis did today.
Well, on DeSantis, I think, you know, Jason's right to a degree. This is a governor who, you know, more than any other Republican governor or governor really in the country, I think he is incredibly instinctually responsive to the cultural war issues of the day, whether it's critical race theory or the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. You know, he has his finger on the pulse of where the conservative it is. And he's very good. I mean, legitimately good at taking political advantage of this. He probably will run whether or not Trump decides to, under the calculation that he is the sort of Trump without the baggage candidate, that he can do what Trump does. He can rile up the base, but he doesn't have all that baggage that Trump brings to the table. So, these types of victories, and let's be clear, this is a victory for him to go after Disney as the governor of state and have your entire party, the establishment Republicans and the non-establishment Republicans behind you. That's a victory for him. He's going to take these types of things and even further increase his national profile. So, you may hate what happened here on an intellectual level, but I do think from a political level, this behooves and benefits DeSantis in the context of a future primary bid.
Sam and Jason, stick around after the break. What President Obama is doing to thwart the threat of disinformation.